Every morning at 7:01 a.m. sharp, that shiny black Cybertruck cut across my front lawn like it was a shortcut to Disneyland. Tires chewing through soil, mud splattering against the white picket fence Sarah and I built with our bare damn hands. My name's Mitch, 56, widowed, quiet homeowner who minds his business. But that lawn? Yeah, that lawn was sacred. Not because grass matters. Hell, it grows back. But she didn't. Sarah loved mornings. Loved dew on the blades, coffee steam rising, birds chirping like they owned the neighborhood. That patch of earth was the only thing left that still smelled like her shampoo when the wind hit right. Comment which state you tuned in from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can take HOA down in America. So here's how this circus started. So when Evan Hale, 22-year-old crypto bro, trust fund spawn of the HOA president Karen Hale herself, decided my yard was his personal off-road track? Something in me quietly snapped. I tried the polite route first. Knocked on their door. Evan answered shirtless, gold chains swinging like he won a rap battle no one invited him to. Hey kid, you've been tearing up my lawn with your truck. Can you go around next time? He blinked slow. Then that smug smile spread across his face like mold. It's just grass, old man. Stop crying. Door slammed. Yeah. Cute. Next morning I'm on the porch, coffee in hand, watching him line up like he's about to drag race the devil. One hand on the wheel, sunglasses on even though the sun was barely awake. Vroom, straight across my yard again. Mud everywhere. Grass torn up like a bad haircut. I filmed it. Posted it in the HOA group chat. Guess who reacted first? Karen Hale, HOA president, suburban royalty, queen of passive-aggressive Christmas lights. Her reply? Please refrain from defamation. Boys will be boys. Closing comments. I swear I saw red fog. No apology. No warning to her son. No responsibility. The HOA, the same people who fined me $50 last year because my mailbox color was too beige, had nothing to say about a Cybertruck plowing through my property like a tank in Ukraine. That night I didn't sleep. I paced the kitchen. I replayed every tire track in my head. And then, an idea grew. Not revenge. Just a lesson. A very educational one. Behind my shed lay a stack of old sod squares, soil bags, and a root shovel still sharp enough to scalp earth. I stared at them like a man with a mission and a soundtrack building behind him. If he wanted to drive through my lawn, he was gonna drive through my lawn. Just downward. I spent 3 nights digging. A pit 6 feet wide, 8 feet long, almost 2 feet deep, lined with plywood so it wouldn't cave too soon. I layered it with chicken wire, soft dirt, and sod squares like icing over a crime scene. Looked like perfect grass. Felt like grass. Smelled like grass. But underneath? Nothing but humiliation waiting. I stood there at 6:59 a.m., sweat still drying on my shirt, hands shaking, not from fear, but anticipation. This wasn't just a trap. This was justice. Because nobody runs over Sarah's lawn without consequences. 7 a.m. Silence. 1 minute later. Engine rumbled down the street. Big, loud, expensive, like always. The Cybertruck rounded the corner, sunlight gleaming across its matte black panels like a villain entrance shot. He smirked right at me through the window, revving like he thought I was nervous. Wrong. He gunned it. Tires tore across the grass toward the center like a missile. FWOM, the front end dropped into the ground like a whale being harpooned. Metal scraped. Bumper bent. Tires spun helplessly. Dirt flew. And Evan Hale's scream? Oh, that was beautiful. The Cybertruck sat nose deep, back wheels kicking like a dying bull. Evan climbed out, furious, red-faced, yelling something about lawsuits and property damage. I just took a sip of coffee and smiled like a man watching karma work overtime. You okay? I asked, voice calm. He stomped toward me, finger in my face. You're done. My mom runs this entire HOA, you're gonna regret this. I shrugged. Funny, I thought you said it's just grass. Grows back, doesn't it? He froze. That was the first crack in his ego. And right then, right as he realized he had stepped in the trap I never technically invited him into, Karen Hale stormed out in slippers, robe flapping, rage leaking from every pore. Mitch! How dare you sabotage my son's vehicle? Neighbors peeked through curtains. Phones came out. The circus was officially open. I had proof. I had footage. I had nothing left to lose. And I smiled, because Chapter 1 was only the beginning. Because little did I know, this wasn't just about a lawn. There was a land grab, a corrupt HOA board, and a buried secret about my property line that would tear this neighborhood apart. And I was about to drag every one of them into daylight. That same night after the HOA meeting, I sat on my porch with a cold beer, watching the street like it was a crime scene rewind looped on repeat. I thought it was over. I thought the tow, the humiliation, the viral posts, hell, the public dethroning of Delphine Sutton, would put some fear into their golden boy Cybertruck owner's son. But if there's one thing I've learned about people like Breen, embarrassment doesn't break them. It mutates into revenge. I didn't know yet, but round 2 was loading like a shotgun. It started at 3:11 a.m. A sound like a freight train ripping down asphalt. Loud enough to jolt me awake, loud enough to feel like my walls were shaking. I kicked off the covers and ran to the window. High beams. Big ones. Not the sleek, bright glare of the Lamborghini this time. No. The blinding square headlights of a brand new Cybertruck, metallic panels glaring like a pissed-off mechanical rhino. He didn't even hesitate. Breen floored it directly onto my lawn again, but instead of stopping where the trench was, he went further, deeper, faster. The truck's massive wheels climbed straight over my garden beds, shredding through roses Sarah planted with her bare hands, crushing the bird bath she loved, splitting ornamental stone like cheap chalk. My fists locked. My jaw cracked. He wanted escalation? He just found it. He slammed through the yard like he was plowing farmland, circling, reversing, tearing every inch of green the first had fought to preserve. Dirt exploded under the tires. Grass ripped free like someone scalping the earth. It was destruction, and it was intentional. Then he stopped. Engine low, rumbling, idling. And out stepped Breen. Shirtless, drunk or high I couldn't tell, holding a baseball bat like he was auditioning for a mugshot. He stared at my house, chest heaving like a bull before a goring. Then, crack. He smashed my mailbox right off the post. One swing. Then another. Then another. Metal warped. Wood splintered. Letters scattered like confetti. I didn't grab my phone. I didn't grab proof. I grabbed my boots. And for 1 second, I wasn't Sterling the quiet woodworker. I wasn't grieving husband sipping coffee at sunrise. I was someone who'd been pushed too far for too long. When I stepped outside, porch light hitting him like stage lighting, he froze. Then he smirked. You like traps, old man? He slurred. How about a real one? He lifted the bat again like he wanted to take a swing at me next, but headlights suddenly flooded us both. A car had just pulled up slowly, silently. Not police this time. The Sutton's attorney. A Subaru driving, beard-oiled, power-tied vulture named Grant Hemsworth. I'd met him once. Soft handshake. Hard eyes. A man who could smile while drafting your financial obituary. He rolled down his window without stepping out. Mr. Caldwell, he said, voice smooth as butter over a knife. You have been served. He extended a folder. I opened it. My stomach dropped. HOA lawsuit. They were suing me. Defamation, for the video Breen caused. Entrapment, for the trench he fell in despite trespassing. Intentional property sabotage. Emotional damages. Emotional damages. The guy who just destroyed my yard with a Cybertruck? They were suing me. Breen laughed, loud, ugly, triumphant. Told you, old man. We run this neighborhood. Then he revved the truck and tore off into the night like a demon that had tasted blood. I walked my ruined lawn in silence. Grass torn, flowers shredded, mailbox bent like roadkill. Sarah's roses gone. I knelt and picked up a petal. Soft. Crushed. Browned around the edges like a dying memory. And something in me shifted. This wasn't about lawn anymore. This wasn't about cars. This was a land war. Legal. Personal. Emotional. And I knew if I didn't strike back, they would bury me next. So I started digging. Not a metaphor. A real hole. Bigger than before. Deeper. Longer. 2 feet wasn't enough. 4 wouldn't do. I dug until midnight, then sunrise, then noon. Neighbors watched through blinds but didn't speak, not out of disrespect, but fear. The Suttons had ruled this HOA for 10 years like monarchs wearing designer slippers. No one wanted to be next. Every shovel of dirt felt like loading ammunition. Every inch of trench felt like reclaiming power. And when I was finished, it wasn't a trap anymore. It was a message. Warning. A line in the earth saying, "Try me again." While I worked, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages. Calls. Ramona knocking at my door, whispering like we were plotting espionage. "Sterling, they're trying to frame you," she said. "HOA board is split. People want your side heard. You need to show proof. Real proof. More than the videos." Her words weren't comfort, they were gasoline. Because I realized something. I didn't just have proof. I had leverage. I still had CCTV footage of Breen destroying my lawn with the Cybertruck. His mailbox assault. His bat. His threats. All time-stamped. High resolution. Undeniable. And I knew exactly when to drop it. Not now. At the HOA emergency hearing where they planned to bury me. Let them come proud. Let them think they had me cornered. Let them sit in their plastic fold-out chairs with smug power smiles. Then I'd walk in with a projector and detonate the room. I wasn't just defending land. I was exposing a dynasty. And the Suttons had no idea what was coming. Because I didn't just want to win. I wanted the whole neighborhood watching when their empire collapsed. I stood over the trench, wiped sweat from my face, and whispered to the night. "Round 2, you little shit, let's dance." And right then, like the universe wanted dramatic timing, the Cybertruck headlights appeared again at the end of the street. Slow. Predatory. Breen was back. But this time, he wasn't alone. In the passenger seat? Delphine Sutton herself. Fresh fury. And court paper in her hand. The war was just beginning. Dawn cracked over the farm like thin gold paint over a broken canvas. Sam hadn't slept. His hands were blister off from trying to salvage what was left. Rows of tomatoes flattened. Irrigation pipes torn and dangling like veins. And the HOA president, Richard Hale, sat 3 streets over drinking morning coffee like he hadn't just committed a crime against a man's livelihood. But Sam wasn't breaking. No, he was plotting. 1. Evidence never dies, even when crops do. Sam marched through the wreckage with his cracked phone in hand, filming every inch. Each broken post. Every uprooted sapling. Every trace of tire tracks left by the HOA-sent bulldozer. "You want war? Fine." His voice trembled, not with fear, but with fury. He drove to town, still smelling like dirt and heartbreak, and walked straight into the county clerk's office. Security cameras? Check. Drone footage from neighbor who secretly filmed the demolition? Check. Old deeds showing his farm existed long before the HOA was even born? Check. Sam now had ammunition. Not the kind that fires bullets, the kind that fires lawsuits. 2. The private meeting that wasn't so private. That evening, he attended the HOA meeting, uninvited, unwelcome, unwanted. Room full of smug board members in polo shirts sipping sparkling water like kings at a round table. Richard Hale leaned back in his chair, grinning like a fox who already tasted feathers. "Mr. Carter, you are trespassing." Sam smirked. "No, I'm home." "You're trespassing." He dropped printed evidence on the table. Photos, reports, timestamps. The boardroom froze. A councilwoman whispered, "This could bankrupt the association." Richard shot her a razor-sharp glare, but the panic was already growing like wildfire. Sam leaned forward, voice low, steady. "You destroyed my land. My history. My work. You thought I'd bow. But I stand." Half the room now looked like they wanted to resign on the spot. 3. The turn the HOA never expected. Sam didn't just fight, he broadcasted. He uploaded everything online. Facebook? Viral. Local news? Knocking at his door. Farmers across the county? Supporting him. Some even brought seedlings, soil, water, strangers rebuilding what rich men destroyed. The HOA's shiny reputation cracked like thin glass. While Sam replanted a row of new crops gifted by volunteers, a cameraman asked him, "Why not give up?" Sam wiped sweat from his brow and smiled, for the first time since the destruction. "Because land isn't dirt. It's legacy." And the world heard it. The people were with him now. 2 weeks later, the courthouse steps looked like a battlefield of signs, cameras, and voices. Farmers, neighbors, activists, all chanting one name. Justice for Sam! Down with corruption! Richard Hale tried slipping into the building through a side entrance, but someone spotted him. The crowd roared like a lion waking. "That's him! That's the clown who bulldozed the farm!" Spotlights, microphones, reporters. Suddenly he was the hunted one. Courtroom chess, not checkers. Inside, the air felt thick, almost edible. Lawyers murmured like buzzing flies. Sam sat straight back beside his pro bono attorney, a young woman named Alicia who looked calm, dangerous, and brilliantly prepared. The judge called order. Alicia stood, voice sharp as barbed wire. "Your Honor, this was not a zoning dispute. This was sabotage, trespass, property destruction, and racial discrimination masked as policy enforcement." Gasps cut through the room. She submitted drone footage showing HOA-employed contractors tearing through crops. Signed internal emails leaked by a whistleblower, proving Richard planned the demolition weeks earlier. Then came the knockout punch. A decades-old deed proving Sam's farm preceded the HOA establishment by 41 years. Meaning? They had zero authority. No jurisdiction. No right. Richard's lawyer stuttered so hard his time might have choked him. 2. Secrets rot from the inside out. A witness was called, a former HOA board member. Gray hair, guilty eyes, trembling hands. He cleared his throat. "Richard told us Sam's land was prime for commercial development. Told us we'd all get a financial cut if we pushed him out." The room exploded. The judge hammered the desk. Reporters typed like machine guns. Richard's face strained pale, his empire cracking publicly, loudly, mercilessly. Alicia wasn't done. "And we have proof funds were misused, HOA money diverted into a private account." The prosecution dropped bank statements. Dead silence. Corruption. Fraud. Conspiracy. Like dominoes, board members crumbled into plea deals, resigning right there in the courtroom. 3. Verdict that echoed across headlines. After 6 hours, the judge returned with a result that could have been carved in steel. HOA liable. Full restitution. Land restored. Richard Hale, facing criminal prosecution. Sam exhaled, slow, heavy, victorious. People outside cheered as if a dictator had fallen. Reporters swarmed him. "How does it feel? What's next for you?" Sam spoke like his words were seeds falling on fertile soil. "This wasn't just my win. It's a warning. Land cannot be stolen by suits and signatures." Rain fell the morning after the verdict, not a storm, but a gentle curtain, soft as forgiveness. It tapped the windows of Sam's farmhouse like a visitor asking to enter, like the land itself whispering you endured. Sam stepped onto the porch barefoot, feeling wet earth beneath him. The ruined field that once paralyzed him with pain now shone like a blank page, ready to be written again. For the first time in months, hope didn't feel like a stupid gamble. It felt like gravity. Steady. Real. He stared across acres of mud and broken fences. Most men would see destruction. Sam saw potential. Because land doesn't care how many times you fall. It only cares how many times you plant again. 1. Rebirth never starts quietly. 2 weeks after the ruling, Sam's farm looked like a festival of shovels, mud boots, sunburned backs, and stubborn determination. Trucks lined the road. Teenagers unloaded crates of seedlings. Retired farmers brought saplings older than some of the volunteers themselves. Families arrived with food, pot stew, fresh bread, bottles of well water. Someone played blues guitar under a tarp while chickens wandered through legs like security guards on break. Sam stood at the heart of it all, not a victim anymore, but a leader. His hands deep in soil, sweat rolling down his jaw. Alicia, the attorney who fought beside him, arrived too, ditching her blazer for jeans and gloves. "You sure you're not secretly part farmer?" Sam teased. She smirked, pushing a bag of seeds into his hand. "Only on weekends. Plant those heirloom beans. Older than the HOA itself." Sam laughed, really laughed, loud enough that nearby workers turned to smile. He planted the first seed of the new era with a hand that trembled, not with anger this time, but with purpose. The crowd cheered like it was a coronation. 2. When empires fall, they don't fall gracefully. Across town, Richard Hale was drowning in everything he once weaponized. Lawyers. Auditors. Investigators. Subpoenas thicker than prayer books. The HOA office, once polished marble and smug authority, now sat half-empty, news vans outside broadcasting its slow collapse like a live autopsy. The board members who once sneered at Sam now ran interviews claiming they were misled, they didn't know, they were victims too. But the public wasn't buying it. Richard's face became a meme, the tyrant who bulldozed a farm and buried his own career. One evening, Sam drove by their headquarters, purely accidental, and saw Richard stepping out, escorted by police. Rain drenched his expensive suit. Flash photography lit his face like lightning. Their eyes met across the sidewalk. No words. Just recognition. Richard had tried to uproot a man's legacy. Instead, he uprooted his own. Sam didn't smirk, didn't celebrate, didn't spit bitterness back. Revenge had already happened without cruelty. Justice didn't need applause. He simply nodded once. Not forgiveness, acknowledgement. The fight was over. 3. The harvest that came from hurt. Summer rolled in like a warm victory speech. The first crops sprouted emerald bright, rows of green slicing across land previously flattened like memory. Every morning, Sam walked between the sprouting plants, touching leaves like one might touch the face of a sleeping child. One day, camera crews returned, but now Sam wasn't a scandal. He was a symbol. Reporters asked, "What changed? What's the lesson? What do you want the world to learn?" Sam thought of roots, how they cling even when everything above ground burns. He thought of families who lose land not by fist but by policy. He thought of the black farmers in history books whose stories ended in silence. He looked into the camera and answered the question for all of them. Power isn't who sits on a board. Power is who stands on the soil. This segment went national. Schools taught it. Communities quoted it. And farm co-ops across the state began rewriting HOA bylaws, guarding land rights like they guard food itself. Sam had won more than compensation. He had changed the laws of survival. 4. Legacy isn't a trophy, it's a continuation. As months passed, the farm blossomed into something more than crops. It became a community oasis. Kids learned to plant seeds there. Veterans worked the soil for therapy. Black farming history workshops were held in the old barn, now repainted with murals of ancestors who never stopped fighting. Sam sometimes sat alone at dusk, listening to the wind drag its fingers through the crops like a choir rehearsal. Fireflies drifted through the rows, tiny lanterns honoring what was rebuilt. One evening, his neighbor Marcus joined him with 2 cold bottles of cider. "You know," Marcus said, "you didn't just rebuild a farm. You rebuilt belief. Sam clinked bottles with him, eyes reflecting sunset. Belief was all we ever had. 5. Final reflection: what survives the storm? The following spring brought the first major harvest since the destruction. Hundreds gathered to help, laughter everywhere, children filling baskets, old men comparing who planted straighter rows. It wasn't efficient, but it was beautiful. Slow. Human. Sam stood on the porch of his farmhouse, the same worn wood his grandfather stood on decades prior. He looked across fields alive with green and gold, workers moving like a living organism, and felt something deep settle inside him. Not victory. Roots. He remembered the day they bulldozed his life. The helplessness. The rage. The emptiness. And he remembered standing back up. Not for revenge, but for restoration. Not for pride, but for legacy. Because the land didn't survive because he owned it. It survived because he belonged to it. He spoke softly, as if the soil itself was listening. We grow again. And we grow better. The wind carried his words across acres, not as sound, but as promise.